But the interesting thing is, what do you do when the trickster have been tricked? When the trickster has had the tricks pulled on him. As we know, Jacob was a trickster. Even in the womb, Jacob was a trickster. His brother Esau was coming out of the womb, and Jacob reached up and pulled him back in just so that he could come out first. Esau was not a punk, but he began to fight his way through. And the Bible says that when Esau's hand arm came out, they wrapped a ribbon around his arm so that he could be identified as the firstborn. So in the midst of that, Jacob pulls him back in and Jacob comes out. Jacob gets older and he manipulates and he tricked and stole his brother's birthright by offering him a bowl of red soup. He got older and older, and he came to a place in age in life where he was still running tricks. He ends up switching with Esau, and he receives the right hand of his father. So, what happens when the trickster has been tricked? Jacob spent his life tricking folks, and he wasn't upset. But when the tables turned and the script flipped, he got tricked and he becomes infuriated. He becomes upset. He goes and confronts Laban about what he had done. He worked 7 long years for Rachel, but he ends up with Leah. It's one thing for you to put yourself in a place and a position of being broken and crushed and hurt. But it's another thing when somebody else takes you and puts you in that position. I'm sure that there had already been some form of sibling rivalry going on with Leah and Rachel. Because the Bible describes Leah as being tender-eyed and Rachel as being beautiful, being fair and full of God's favor. Can you imagine that Rachel has now gotten upset with Leah for something that she had nothing to do with? She was angry with her. She was frustrated and stressed out with Leah. But Leah didn't volunteer. And so she becomes angry because now Leah gets to get what she wants. She gets to receive the man of her dreams. And for 7 years, he worked himself to the bones. And at the end of that 7 years, he's excited because he believes he's about to receive the woman that he's been longing for. But the script flips and he ends up with Leah. This situation broke Leah, but she is first. Can you imagine the fights and the chaoticness of what's going on between the two sisters? I can imagine that from the time that this has taken place, Rachel has developed some real ugly feelings for her sister Leah. In fact, I would believe that Rachel had possibly said some harsh things to Leah. She had probably talked about how cockeyed her eyes were and how thin that she was, and maybe Leah had some blemishes in her face, some acne that would not dry up, that she was almost paper thin. I mean, said some harsh things and made harsh comments about her. The father has now put the two sisters at a rival. Because Rachel, even though Rachel understands that Leah had to be the first, she felt as if she was stealing her man. And the Bible talks about how Jacob felt after being tricked. One thing we must remember in this day and time, in this day and age, that God sees all. He knows all. God sees Jacob and God sees Laban. And he sees what took place. The script flipped, and now the trickster has been tricked. Jacob says, well, okay, I'm going to calm down. And he calms down and he comes to a place of calmness where he can kind of sort of think straight. And he declares to Laban, I will work another 7 years just so that I can have Rachel. The Bible says that Jacob comes to the end of those 7 years. And now finally, he gets to be with the woman of his dreams, the woman that he's longed for, the woman that he wanted from the beginning. Within those 7 years, the times that he spent with Leah, he shared his bed with Leah. But I'm sure out of anger and out of frustration for Laban, he was harsh and cruel to Leah. In that time period, I can only imagine that Leah began to develop some feelings, that she began to connect to a man that did not want her. She began to develop feelings for him. And imagine that she began to fall in love with Jacob. But Jacob was half-hearted in that relationship. And now he finally gets to be with the woman that he's wanted from day one. I can only imagine that the time began to become shorter that he spent with Leah and began to invest and romance Rachel. I can only imagine the hardships, the crushings. And now that he has Rachel, there is an issue. To work the 7 years and to receive Rachel was a blessing. But he received a broken woman. Laban put Leah and Rachel in a position where they both were broken. And now he gets Rachel and he pulls her into the home. Can you imagine the chaos, the fighting that took place? Can you imagine how that Rachel must have been mean mugging Leah? Things got worse. The comments became harsher. The comments became cruel. It was cold shoulders going on. I can imagine that Rachel did not even speak or interact with Leah. But I learned through life that hurt folks hurt others. And the sad part about this story is Rachel is hurting Leah, her sister. And her sister had nothing to do with being in that position. I wish I had a witness right there. She's angry with Leah. She's angry with her. She's bitter with her. And the fighting had to increase. It must have been maddening. Not only did Jacob have one broken woman, but Jacob had two broken wives. The sibling rivalry got completely out of hand. So they're there in the home together. And the anger and the frustration and the bitterness is running wild. The atmosphere has to be intense. It has to be thick and strong. It's got to be so bad that you can cut it with a butter knife. Disorganization, chaos, arguing, things becoming more and more harsher than before. I can imagine Rachel throwing cheap shots at Leah and how she looks, Have you ever, my sisters, ever been in a position in life where someone has gotten angry with you? They become jealous of you and you've done nothing wrong. You didn't ask to be in that position. You didn't ask to be in the situation. You were just tossed out there and placed right there in the middle of the situation. And things just got out of hand. They're angry because you got the position. They're jealous because you got the position. They're angry because that man prefers your meals over the other sister. They're angry because you are doing well and they seem to be failing. Have you been here on YouTube and have experienced jealousy and folks been angry with you because your channel is doing better, your channel is growing and theirs is stagnated? Have you ever been in this situation where the situation broke you, but you are first? Folks doing all that they can do and doing extra stuff for the person and still didn't get the position. You may be qualified for it, but I know how to work it a lot better. Frustrated, angry. Their relationship became competitive. Rachel being angry because now she's got to share her husband with Leah. Leah being angry and frustrated because she's got to share her husband. And though Leah knows Jacob is half-heartedly in the relationship, she still loves him. She still fights for him. Isn't it funny how people can mistreat us and say harsh things and do things that hurt us, and yet we're still there. We're still standing with them. The situation broke. The situation caused you to be hurt, crushed, disappointed. Situation caused you to be damaged. You've been caught up in a situation and a position and a place in life that you did not ask